The following presentation of City Cinematheque is made possible, in part, by the support of the French Cultural Services. Visit www.frenchculture.org. Welcome to City Cinematheque, where the art and pleasure of the movies are the subject of serious discussion. I'm your host, Jerry Carlson, and I teach film studies at the City College of the City University of New York. Today we begin a series of films by Bertrand Tavernier, arguably the finest filmmaker to emerge in France since the French New Wave. Today we're actually going to be seeing his first full-length feature film, The Clockmaker, from 1974, starring Philippe Noiret and Jean Rochefort. These two great stars are in a film about a father who's discovering who his son really is. It's also an extraordinary view of the city of Lyon from 30 years ago. Joining us today to talk about all of those things and more is Bertrand Tavernier. It's our great pleasure to welcome him here on City Cinematheque. Now, enjoy the film and stay around for our discussion with Monsieur Tavernier. Welcome back to City Cinematheque. I hope you've enjoyed this opportunity to see this magnificent print of Bertrand Tavernier's first film, The Clockmaker. And it's our great honor to welcome the filmmaker himself, Bertrand Tavernier, here to City Cinematheque. Thank you for joining us, Bertrand.
Thank you.
Good. Well, let's start at the beginning. And this film is in the beginning of your career as a feature filmmaker. How did you come to choose this particular story? What attracted it to you? How did this become your first film?
I had written before that 2 or 3 screenplays. One which was going to become Let the Genre in Supreme, my second film. I had written one film based on a Robert Louis Stevenson story called The Beach of Falaise, which I wanted to do with Jacques Brel and James Mason. And I wanted to do a film about the French Gestapo. None of the story could be made. I never found the money, the finance, the trust of a producer. And one day I read the Simenon novel, which was taking place not far from New York, in America. And it was a shock. I mean, I was very moved by the book, and I thought that the story, it was possible to transplant the story in France, in a French background. I did want to do an American film for my first film. It was too expensive, too difficult for me. And I wanted to bring the story closer to me. So I decided to choose my native town and to put in the story a lot of memories, a lot of things I remembered from my childhood and that. And I wrote an adaptation, and then the nightmare began. Because even if with this adaptation I got the agreement of Philippe Noiret, during more than 2 years, I think 2 years and a half, it was turned down by everybody in Paris. We had written a screenplay with Jean Orange and Pierre Bost, 2 screenwriters which had been dismissed by the New Wave in a very unfair way, I think. And I showed them for several reasons. First, because I wanted to work with people older than me.
Right.
Then, something which was smart, I wanted to work with people who were totally free and available. I did wanted to go with a screenwriter who was very much in demand, which would have given me 1 month, 2 months, one draft,
right,
and then go away. So I took people who were more or less on a kind of blacklist. I mean, it's something I got from the American cinema when I saw that some of the best films of the 60s were written by people coming out of the blacklist,
right,
like Dalton Trumbo, Ring Lardner Jr., Waldo Salt, I mean, Midnight Cowboy, MASH, Spartacus, Exodus, all written by blacklist people. So I work with them, but even with their name and their screenplay, it was, I mean, turned down. I had people in front of me weighing the screenplay and says, no, it's not interesting, too much dialogue, without reading it. And Noiret stood by me during those 2 years. Noiret had given his word.
Right.
After 2 years and a half, he could have said, okay, you are unable to have this film produced, I will do something else. No, he stood by the project.
Right.
He behaved like a gentleman, like a wonderful human being. And one day I was lucky. I had found a distributor, I had found money, I had found a chain of cinema wanted to release the film. So the producers said, okay, so it's not a big risk for me because the film is very, 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 the cost of the film is very little.
Right.
Is it a good script? He said. I said yes. So he said, okay, I will do the film. And 3 days after he came back, he said, I read the story, I don't believe at all in it, but I gave my word. We'll do the film. But he then asked, I was paid peanuts.
Yeah, I bet.
Peanuts. He said, but we can even make the film cheaper if you accept to shoot only 10 days in Lyon. And then we'll do all the interior in Paris. And if you do that, I will double your salary. And at that time, I had no money. We were living with a lot of difficulty with my wife and my children. And I said no. And I saw in his eyes that he was totally surprised. I very clearly saw in his eyes, this is, I'm dealing with a madman who's totally broke and he's refusing a double salary. So I better not mix myself in that. So let him do his things and we'll forget about it anyway. We are not risking everything. So it's how I started the film. And we were totally free because it was so little.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be the biggest commercial success he had this year, the producer, because the film won the Prix Louis Deluc and was a spectacular success and sold all over the world.
Oh, absolutely. I saw the film in 35 millimeter while I was a graduate student in Chicago. I remember very, very well. And it was very well reviewed and very successful.
Yes, I had an award for Best Director in Berlin. I got the Silver Bear. So when I created my company, I called it Little Bear. I had an award in Chicago. A Hugo. I won a Hugo in Chicago. And I had a great review by Vincent Canby. Great review by Vincent Canby in the New York Times. So, so the film that nobody wanted to produce, nobody wanted to finance, that started my career. And the only thing I did not know is that the same thing we're going to happen again on practically all my films, from Let the Joy Reign Supreme to Round Midnight, which was very, 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 very difficult to finance, in spite of Irwin Winkler.
Right.
And on L627, on practically all my films, I had to fight to get them produced, but I made them, and they are my films, without any compromise, without accepting anything from the production.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm very interested in the fact that many people don't understand some of the differences between the French filmmaking system and the American filmmaking system. Now, you on the one hand, we have to call you have control of it, so you are an auteur, but you're also someone who has always worked extraordinarily well with these writers that you admire. You have a terrific collaborative team you've worked with through the years, and you're many people don't know that you're a scholar and an historian of American cinema, and you have
I wrote 2 books about the American cinema, one 50 years of American cinema, and American Friends, which has all the interviews I've done about the American directors or screenwriters which I met during my life. Yes, I am. I'm interested in so many things, and it's true that I like to collaborate with writers. I can write myself.
Oh, indeed.
But it would take me 3 or 4 more time if I was writing alone.
Right.
When you write with somebody, you have to react to what he's sending you. You have to, and I find it more challenging.
Right.
Although I started practically all the subject of my film, I showed them myself.
Right.
I worked on the screenplay from the beginning, and not the way the American write. I mean, I've been working once or twice with American screenwriter. They talk to you for 2 weeks, and then 2 months after they come back with a screenplay. I don't want to work like that. I want to work with a writer. We talk about the scene, then you write the scene, then we discuss about the scene.
Right.
I accept it, or I refuse the other, and we start on the next scene. Exactly. And I want to see the story and the characters grow. It's what happened with the Clockmaker. We never wrote a synopsis. We never wrote a 3-page treatment.
Okay.
We started by writing a scene. And I remember Jean Orange came and said, "We are in a train, and there is a little girl which was looking through a window, and she sees a car burning." And I thought, my God, that's a wonderful opening. And from that, it started the film. It started the film, and I love working that, and I love working with the same crew, but always giving them a new challenge on each film. Each film should be a first film for them.
Well, it's also like some of the great American directors you admire. For example, someone like Howard Hawks. You're not associated with any single genre or type of story. It seems as if you're interested in a variety of kinds of settings, characters, stories, as if it's a new adventure every time, an exploration of some kind.
Yeah, in fact, some of the directors I admire most are people like Raoul Walsh or Kurosawa or Michael Powell, who did films which were completely, superficially, I mean, completely different.
Right.
They were dealing with different subjects. I mean, a film which is half a documentary and something like Black Narcissus, which was where India is totally rebuilt in studio. But then when you see 10 films in a row by Kurosawa, or by Michael Powell, or by director, or by Jean Renoir, you see the link between all those different films. In the case of Powell, you see intelligence at work. You see the education behind the film, the literate involvement. You see the feeling of civilization. You see the trust of in the audience that there. It's something which I wanted to emulate, And I took something from Powell when he said that he was making all his films to learn, in order to learn that. I want to do that. I want the film to do to be an exploration, not a guided tour.
Right.
I want to take the audience into places where they have never been, where I have never been.
The traditional differences, some people say, between the tourist and the traveler.
Yeah.
You want to be a traveler and you want to make your spectator into a fellow traveler with you.
Absolutely. And I want to bring back period, a milieu, a social context. I want to bring that close to the audience, to have the camera contemporary of the event. Contemporary in the case of the Clockmaker,
right.
It's easy. It's post-68, and it's a film which I think translates the spirit of the France at that time.
Indeed.
And it deals with a father and son relationship, and I was able to put a lot of personal statement in it. And by the way, after seeing the film, Pierre Bost told me that, he said, you made a more personal films, a more autobiographical film by calling us to work on the screenplay that if you had written it alone, because we force you to deliver things that you had.
That you might have self-censored.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's true that that it's something which attracts me to bring certain emotions very, very, very close to the audience, so they can understand the complexity of the motivation of the character, the complexity of the political situation and period, even if they are lost sometimes a little bit, because the characters themselves are lost.
Right. Well, that's what's so interesting. Also, you know, this becomes an historical film, because if we look at this film 30 years later, I have to congratulate you. That sense of time and place, that the Tarkovsky, you know, metaphor of imprinting time on film, that somehow film can capture that zeitgeist in a way that nothing else does, and this is now a France that is you know, that is a lost France in so many ways. Our way of entering 74 in Lyon is through this film.
Yeah, I mean, the sense of time of place is something which is very important for me. I learned it through some American films. I mean, American directors who had that.
And what are some of those films and directors, Bertrand?
I mean, it can come from John Ford and Grapes of Wrath, or How Green Was My Valley, or The Searchers, or to Salt of the Earth. It can go even from Capra. I mean, if you want to understand the American idealism of the 30s, with its short-sighted elements and with its tremendous generosity. I mean, from Capra is an incredible introduction.
Indeed.
Or if you want to understand, I don't know, a certain thing about the doubts, the pessimists, you have that in a lot of film noir, where you have that sense of time and places. Right. Very, 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 very strongly. And it's something that some American film have lost recently. I mean, the sense of time and places you had when you were looking at The Manchurian Candidate or 7 Days in May, in films like that, which was tremendous. Some Italian film too.
Indeed.
Rossellini or
Rossi, some of the...
I mean, yes, Salvatore Giuliano. Right. The feeling that many British films by Powell. I mean, the sense of time and places, of life and death of Colonel Blimp and Black Narcissus and Matter of Life and Death and I Know Where I'm Going or Canterbury Tale is extraordinary. Right. Extraordinary. Jean Renoir, I mean, do you have a better sense of time and places than Rules of the Game? Right. Or some films of the occupation made by Clouseau or people like that, by Grémillon. Right. I mean, that's for me, that was my school of filmmaking. I learned that from that, and it's something which I wanted to put in my film.
Let me come back to the actors in this film for a moment, because you've had an enormously rich cooperation with Philippe Noiret, and there's been this transfer of, as it were, your interest in different times and places into his interest in times and places. How did that relationship begin? Because there's an enormous level of trust and cooperation that's so clear on the screen.
It began by me being so grateful to him for supporting me during 2.5 years. And then on the set, being so easy, so open-minded. He told me at the beginning, not at the beginning, at the end of the film, he told me that he had been first a little frightened that because I was a film buff. He said, I hope Bertrand will not make film with a lot of reference. Mm-hmm. And he said, the first day of shooting, I was so happily surprised. There was never any reference to films, to other films. He was only talking about the characters, the way the characters behave, not trying to analyze, but trying to give precise advice,
right.
Pragmatical things.
Right.
And it's true that I had, Noiret was my Henry Fonda, or my James Stewart. I mean, it's I said as a kind of joke that he was my autobiographical actor. I could transpose into him many of my doubts, my emotion. That was very easy. And we were both, I mean, rather secret. Okay. We do not like to talk about private feelings or that. We are both provincial, both educated in a religious school, the same kind of, with the same kind of education, and I admire that because behind that surface, Philippe Noiret is very deeply anarchistic. He is very, very free, and as an actor, when he trusts a director, and he trusted me on all those films, he never discussed the choice of the director. We came to an understanding that we didn't have to talk, that after a take he was looking at me, and just by the face I was doing and the expression, he says, okay, he was calling me tonton, uncle. I will do another. I know I've been wrong, I tried something else, I'd said nothing. We were just looking at each other. And it's wonderful. And there is something which made me very proud. He made more than 100 films, Philippe Noiret. And when he was given a tribute in Cannes, it chose Life and Nothing But. Yes. He said that he had never in his life given an interpretation as deep and as just that in Life and Nothing But. And that I felt very, very, very proud, very proud. I love him as a man. In fact, now I'm producing a film with him.
Oh, okay. Tell us about that.
It's a small film, first film of a director, which I'm producing with my company, with Little Bear, because we are producing the film of other director. I'm trying to help other director. Okay. I'm doing a little bit what Robert Altman did during a time.
Indeed.
Or Coppola, but in my own way, because I have a very, very small production company. I co-produce my film, and I produce several films, including Marcel Ful's The Trouble I've Seen. That's my production. It nearly killed me. But I produced it. I'm proud. That film about Bosnia.
Right.
We produced a series of films against landmines all over the world, things against AIDS, and we produce 8 or 10 long feature, a lot of first films.
Right, but this is also a company you've now had for almost 30 years, and
yes.
that you've built this company, as we would say, brick by brick through your production. So that you're giving back to the industry.
When you were talking about the difference between France and South America, I made a very clear choice. In order to be completely free, I chose to take a small salary and to have a percentage in the negative of the film. And then that percentage, after 3 or 4 films, became a production percentage.
Right.
I owned 25% of the film. I made the choice of not asking a lot of money, not imposing a tremendous risk, because I knew that some of the subjects I was dealing with were difficult,
right,
or difficult for the people who finance them. Most of them, like for instance L627,
right,
which was turned down by everybody, was an incredibly successful film at the end.
Right.
But Life and Nothing But, the same way. You know that for Life and Nothing But, the head of Hachette, a huge company which has books, radio, a conglomerate, came to me and said, Bertrand, I beg you to renounce to that film. Nobody will come to see it. It's a story that nobody can be interested in watching the film. So I will pay you your contract now, and I will give you back another the same contract of the same amount of money. And again, I said no. Okay. And so, I mean, it's when you speak about freedom, in those moments like that, that you get your freedom. Buñuel said,
I have to,
okay.
you know, I have to restrict your freedom, Bertrand.
Okay.
I have to cut you off because we've run out of time. But you will be joining us again later in this series for a discussion of Captain Conan, so I hope we can pick that up. If you like this discussion on City Cinematheque and what we're doing, please investigate what we're doing, and you can do that through our website. Click on to www.cuny.tv, then click on City Cinematheque, or look around at the other wonderful programming on CUNY TV. Again, that address is www.cuny.tv. Bertrand, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you here, and we look forward to the next discussion we'll have talking about Captain Conan. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us, and please tune in again as we try to stroll through the archives of film history. Thanks again. Bye-bye.